Last week I mowed the grass in hopes that the rain that we had this weekend would green up the yard. My plan worked. Spring has finally sprung. Racing and car show season is upon us, at last. All the more reason for us to get this 64 C-10 finished. And the sooner the better. We're inching closer and closer to having this truck back on the road. But today we've got to get the brakes up on this thing and get it running so that we can take it to Lucor, hopefully Tuesday, and get the exhaust put on. But at this point, we're still a long ways away from making that happen. While we're out in the shop working on the 64, Billy pulls in with a fresh drum of methanol. I guess we're going racing this weekend. He and Big Rob stopped by for a few minutes today and gave Jeremy some trouble while he's troubleshooting some wiring underneath the dash. I went out with a John Deere and helped Billy unload that drum of methanol out of his pickup truck and get it put in the race trailer for the weekend. And June Pup supervised. I am super excited to hear this truck finally run and hopefully move under its own power for the first time since we pulled the 6-cylinder out of it. But before that's going to happen, Jeremy's got a list of parts he needs me to go get down at Mark's.
Get some self-tapping screws with the little brackets with the rubber around them to hold the brake line in place on the rail, so I can just self-tap them and screw them to it. I don't want hillbilly heaven flopping around shit. That's you.
So with my parts list in hand and clear directives from Uncle Bucko, I head towards Buckeye Lake in the Malibu to go see Mark down at A1. Now, spring is here, the track's almost open, things are going really well. But back at the shop, there's a serious threat for injury and chaos. Evidently, Big Rob brought this 2-cycled scooter for Kenny to use at the races in case he needs it. But they can't seem to get this thing running. And that's a good thing, because if it does start and run, Billy's likely to get hurt on it. Everything was under control until Uncle Bucko got involved. I hadn't left the house 5 minutes, and my son's trying to kill himself out on the road in front of the house on this stupid scooter. Sometimes as a parent, it's just better not to see what your kids do while you're gone. Anyway, about the time Billy's trying to kill himself, I pull in down at Mark's. Have you got all my stuff?
Bill, you know, I've been working on this all morning.
It takes you all morning just to get this stuff rounded up?
Well, you know, I'm dealing with Jeremy too.
Oh, well, that's true.
So I've been running around like that, you know, checking with my head cut off.
Well, he'll do that. That's why I give up. I just walk away.
Right, yeah, well.
But you don't have that.
I don't have that option. No, I'm stuck.
Does Jeremy really give you a hard time?
Yes, he does.
That's not for show. Like, that's not just
no,
for video.
That's real. No, that's
Jeremy is really a pain in the ass.
Yes, I can definitely say that.
Like, I know you're a business owner and you can't just like say bad things about your customers, but I'm your customer and I'm telling you my employee is a pain in the ass.
Oh, Bill, I have to agree with you.
That's what I'm looking for. God bless Mark, because he goes out of his way for us all the time. And I'm really appreciative, unlike my brother. Thanks, Mark.
No, thank you, Bill. Appreciate it very much.
We'll see you next trip.
Yes, sir. Come back when you can stay longer.
Yeah. When I got back to the shop, I informed Uncle Bucko there was a problem. So, I've received a complaint.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. One of my vendors says you're difficult.
Well, he's slow. Oh, he is.
By Monday evening, Jeremy and I were really struggling with this truck. One problem after another. So I took a break for a few minutes as Vicky was leaving to go run errands, to go out and throw frisbees with the dogs. They haven't had much attention lately. We've been so preoccupied with other things like working on the truck and working on the Malibu and going racing, and the kids have both moved here recently, and that's taken up a considerable amount of our time. As I was out there playing with the dogs, I realized Uncle Rob had snuck something in on me. He went ahead and mounted my standalone tank under the hood of the Malibu so I can put my nitrous kit on this week. This little NX mainline kit ought to help peg the fun meter in the Malibu. Anyway, back to the truck. I go ahead and fill up the transmission with transmission fluid while Jeremy finishes up some minor wiring on the ignition system. He's got the tach installed and the tach wired up, the instrument clusters installed, and everything lights up, even my old school Stuart Warner gauges. At this point, we feel like we're maybe an hour or two away from hearing this thing run and checking out the transmission. But it's one thing after another as we get closer and closer to turning the key on this thing. I had anticipated switching the gas pedal out to a cable-operated unit, but Jeremy decided to try and build a new throttle linkage and use the original pedal in the original linkage kit. So, we're going to try this out, see how it works. It's finally time to put the truck back up on the lift and start working on brake lines and wiring the starter. I can't wait to see how this thing runs and drives with the disc brakes on the front and the power brake master cylinder out on the firewall. So we're running behind schedule here, Uncle Bucko.
Yeah, whose schedule?
Mine.
Yeah, your schedule sucks.
So we got to, oh my God. Look, we got to get this thing to Lucor tomorrow, right? Are you going to be here tomorrow?
Not after 10.
Why?
Because I gotta go have my face ripped apart.
Face ripped apart?
Yeah, since you make me work with a bad tooth.
Oh, now it's a
Yeah.
pity party.
Yeah. Slave driver boss.
What'd you say, Rob?
I was wondering what his name was. It was gonna wreck your face.
Oh!
He needs
Say,
help.
So what all do we have left to do tonight?
Brake lines. Put gas in it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. You robbed my parts bin, so you got all my good stuff in here, so it's sure to run.
The only parts out of your parts bin is that cute little light bulb that you put in there to light up the gauges. Everything else is out of my parts bin.
Yeah, it's a light bulb they sold in 1947 at a 5 and dime.
How do you know where it was
I
sold?
know lots of things. That's why my junk piles are important. Huh.
It looks like something we got on Amazon, I think.
Good luck finding that on Amazon.
You're like Oscar the Grouch. You go diving into the bottom of your trash can and you just come up with really good stuff.
Yeah. That's why everybody stays away from my trash can.
Okay, so to be clear, you have to go have a tooth removed tomorrow, right?
I'd like to have something removed.
Like another man's fingers in your mouth.
Little did we know, we're inching closer and closer to the hour of great disappointment. All right, Uncle Bucko, is it ready to start?
I guess.
You guess?
See if it rolls over and blows up.
All right, are we ready? Holy sheep shit! It started. I don't have no whoop whoop. You haven't fixed my whoop whoop.
I'll be in control of the whoop whoop.
I feel like we've got a problem. That's strange.
Well, I ain't pulled the fuel out of the tank yet.
Something very squirrely is going on, yeah? So it turns out that the fuel line from the frame rail never got hooked up to the fuel pump. And I'm stranded up here in the cab on the lift. Uncle Bucko and Uncle Rob are going through my shop, and it sounds like there's a bunch of raccoons in a trash can down there. What are you looking for, Rob? Oh. Are we making any progress? Well, everybody, it is Tuesday morning. Me and Jeremy and Rob were out here until 1:30 in the morning working on this truck. And we had a little problem. Well, we had multiple problems. The biggest problem, well, the first problem, let me go with the first problem. The first problem was that the fuel line underneath the cab was completely plugged full of crap. So we couldn't get any fuel to the engine. That was problem number one. The second and more difficult problem is that my transmission does not transmission. I fired the truck up last night and it has no forward or reverse gears, and there's something making a terrible noise. I'm afraid that my converter spline and my input shaft spline are not the same. I have tried to locate a good used transmission and I have come up dry. So, I'm headed to Jegs. So right after I left the shop to head to Jegs, Jeremy and Kenny showed up to start pulling the transmission back out of Vicky's truck. Now, to be clear, I bought this used, and the converter that I stuck in it did not come with this transmission. So it is entirely my fault that I didn't check the spline count. Anyway, I get back, put some fluid in this new converter, and get ready to put the new transmission up in the truck. I put the TV cable on, we switch the fittings out, and then I come up with another problem. The converter has something wrong with it. When we slid it in the pump, you could clearly hear that there was something loose inside the converter. That's definitely not right. So I take that converter back to Jegs, get a new one, and then we come back and slide the new converter in the pump. And this one fits and sounds perfect. So we're back in the game. In no time at all, Kenny and Jeremy had the transmission back in the truck sat back on the ground, and go over everything one final time before we hit the key on it. And it fired right up. Jeremy checks the transmission fluid, and I make some minor adjustments to the carburetor to get it to idle just right. And then it's finally time for its first test drive. This will be the first time I've ever driven this truck on the road. And I gotta tell you, it felt really good. After a quick trip around the block, I drove the truck back to the shop, parked it out front, and Jeremy and Kenny go over it real quick just to make sure there's nothing leaking. Everything looked great. So we pulled it back inside, and Mom and Dad showed up for Dad's birthday tonight. He's 71 years old, and we have dinner and cake waiting on him in the house. After we got done checking out the truck out in the shop, we all came in the house and we sat down and had dinner together. Vicky made chicken and noodles for Dad for his birthday, and she made him a cake.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Papa. Happy birthday to you. Make a wish. That's dangerous.
After everybody went home for the evening, I went back out to the shop to take a little bit of video and work on some editing and admire what we have. This project has really turned out better than I ever could have hoped for. Thanks to Jeremy and Kenny and Tyler for doing the pinstriping, and everybody else that's had a hand in helping put this truck back on the road. All right, everybody, welcome back. So, oh my gosh, the last 2 days have been rough. Big shout out to Uncle Terry McMullen at Jegs, Miss Kimmy, and everybody there at the 11th Avenue store, especially, oh my gosh, I feel so bad. I texted Terry this morning and I didn't realize it was his day off, and he texted me back, and Terry put together all the part numbers and had everything pulled at the 11th Avenue store. Miss Kimmy and Brian and some of the guys in there, Dan, I think they all kind of got my stuff rounded up for me, and I really appreciate those guys. Terry, thank you, man. I didn't mean to pester you on your day off, but I really appreciate your help today. They were pretty busy in there in the store, a little short staffed today, and they were hustling as best they could. But so we brought home a new transmission and a converter, and luckily they had one in stock. It was the last one in the company, at least at that price. It was the least expensive one I could find. It's an FTI 700R4, and I took it up the road tonight. It shifts fine. I don't have the TV cable hooked up, so I was just running it up the road at part throttle, just to make sure it goes through all the gears. All the gears work, and it shifts nice and smooth. It's not a firm shift like the Malibu is. The Malibu's kind of harsh, but this is fine. It's just a stock pickup truck. It's nothing that we are trying to hot rod. It's just a nice cruiser, just something comfortable, and hopefully will be quiet that we can cruise around in. So tomorrow, I'm going to try and load this thing up and take it to Lucor Automotive. And I think Austin at Lucor has something for me to work on. Kind of excited about it. You ever seen the old AMXs? They're pretty good looking cars, right? He's got an AMX, small block, 4-speed AMX that he wants me to bring back here and tweak on the carburetor. And how can I say no to a 4-speed AMX? So the plan is I'm going to haul the truck to Lucor tomorrow, pick up this AMX, and bring the AMX back here. And we've got a little bit of work to do on the AMX and a little bit of work to do on my Malibu. We've got a nitrous kit to put on. So we're going to get into that later this week. We'll see how things go, but I'm really excited. This truck drives really pretty good for being, just open manifolds. Of course, I couldn't really tell if the rear end made any noise. I don't think it did. If it did, I couldn't hear it. But everything seems good. The brakes are incredible. This thing has the best brakes out of anything I own. It's incredible. I mean, you just barely touch the pedal and it stops right now. Really excited about that. So, pretty tired. The last 2 days have been kind of rough. As you can kind of probably tell, I'm looking a little long in the tooth. Pretty tired. But I got to go in, I got to get this video edited, get it uploaded. I'm going to schedule it for Wednesday. Wednesday about 3 o'clock. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to get this video done. I'm going to go in and get my editing done, and we'll be back on the road tomorrow to Lucor Automotive with Vicky 64. Thank you all for liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting, good and bad. It all helps. Really appreciate y'all. See you next time.